Hey friends, Elizabeth here from Plant-Based Bride, and welcome back to Plantmas Day 6. But before we jump into it, I want to thank today's video sponsor, Jour. Jour is a daily journaling app that uses science-backed methods, proven to encourage positive thinking, alleviate stress and anxiety, and increase focus and productivity. 2020 has been really rough on all of us, especially when it comes to our mental health. So I'm setting a New Year's resolution for 2021 to focus on self-care every single day through journaling and mindfulness. Usually I struggle to stick with my New Year's resolutions, but Jour is the perfect companion to keep you on track. Jour makes journaling easy. Therapeutic guided journaling through daily prompts and questions, and personalized insights and takeaways that remind you to be mindful and grateful. Plus, the app itself is absolutely beautiful. I've been using Jour for about a month now, and I'm finding it's really helping me to manage my anxiety, boost my motivation, and approach life from a viewpoint of gratitude. So while we're here, I thought it would be fun to do my daily journaling check-in here on camera with you so you can see how it works. The first question it asks is for you to describe how you're feeling. So today I'd say I'm feeling pretty good. How would you describe how you're feeling? And there's a bunch of options based on what you picked in the first question. Today I'd say I'm feeling grateful and excited. It asks, yay, what's making you feel good? So today I'd say what's making me feel good is sleep. I had a really good night's sleep. Why is your sleep making you feel good? Notice how it's bringing up relaxed feelings. I had a deep, relaxing sleep that allowed me to recharge and feel close to my husband. Next, we have what places will you spend time in tomorrow? Take a moment to be aware of how you may spend your day. I'll spend time at home, working, reading, and spending time with my family. And the last question for today's journaling is, what do you want to enjoy about these places? Tune in to have a rewarding, enjoyable day ahead. The view out my window, the snow gathering on the ground. I'll light a candle and enjoy the scent and gentle glow. Once you finish your basic entry, you have the option to do a second journaling exercise based on the answers that you gave in the first journal. Once you've been using it for a little while, you'll have a breakthrough at the top of your homepage. And I have found that these are very accurate and very applicable to my life. So, work doesn't deserve all your energy. So far, you've been feeling okay. Your work has been making you feel tired. True. It's easy to see overworking as productivity, but overworking means we enjoy work less and become less productive over time. Set boundaries with your work. Stop checking email late at night and try to take whatever small break you can during the day. So these are short little bits of wisdom that relate to how you've been feeling over time and your trends. There are options for journals, so you don't have to just do the daily journal. You can also pick to do other journals based on how you're feeling. You can also just go into the Breathe tab and do a breathing exercise if you feel like you need one. Then there's the Insights tab, which is super cool, and you can go here to see how you've been doing and how all that data comes together to give a picture of where you're at. So if you like the look of Jour, if you want to try it out, click the link in my description box to get a 7-day free trial. Also, because Jour is sponsoring this video, they have offered to give away 10 premium Jour subscriptions. So if you're interested in winning a premium subscription of Jour, check out the description box where I'll have all the rules and regulations, how you can enter. Thank you again to Jour for sponsoring this video. And now, without further ado, let's jump into my January setup. Okay, so let's jump into it. All of the supplies I'm using are going to be linked in the description box as always, so check that out for the specifics. I'm starting with my cover page painting, and this is inspired by an image that a patron shared in our Discord. I'll put the inspiration image on the screen now so you can see what I'm going for. So I'm starting with a light wash of color for the sky, and I'm going from light blue to pink to yellow. This is a winter sunrise, so I really want the sky to be a lot warmer at the bottom where the sun is just rising over the crest of a hill. And I've also dabbed up some sections where I know I'm going to have the biggest trees that are in the foreground that are kind of the focus of the image so that I don't have to worry about painting on top of the yellow background. So this is one benefit of watercolor. If you use a dry paper towel or a cloth, you can usually pick that pigment back up and and have a little clear area if that's something that's going to help you in your painting moving forward. I let this first really light layer completely dry before going in to add more to the sky. And the next stage of the sky is adding in the clouds, and the clouds are going to mimic the sky as far as the colors. So I'm going to add clouds that go from blue at the top through purple into pink, through a sort of pinky orange into yellow as they move from the top of the sky down towards the horizon where the sun is. And I started painting my clouds in more of a traditional cloud-like fluffy shape before I changed my mind and went for something a little more horizontal and wispy. I think the more wispy clouds emulated my reference photo a little better than the fluffy clouds, which is why I changed my technique as I went along. But you can see here at the beginning, I did start with those fluffier clouds. Again, the nice thing with watercolor is that you can re-wet pigment and kind of rework it. So I was lucky that I was able to change how my clouds looked a little later on as I changed my mind about what I was going for. So here you can see I realized I wanted to go for a more wispy, horizontal kind of cloud, and this is where that transition starts to happen. So again, I do want the top of the sky to be darker and cooler toned, so I'm also using some darker blues up at the top to give the feeling of early morning when the sky is sort of still nighttime up high, but becoming morning at the bottom, and seeing that gentle gradient, that shift. So I'm just continuing to add color in light layers, again going from that darker blue through purple to pink to orange to yellow, using my reference image for inspiration, but also using my own creative license to do what I think is going to look nicest. Once I'm feeling pretty happy with the sky, I let it dry, and it was time to move on to the bottom half of the painting, which is the land in this landscape. So starting with my main trees in the foreground, and these are the trees on the right side of the painting that are blocking the rising sun. So these are the trees that are really the focus of this painting, and I wanted to spend some more time on them to really get them right. So I watched a couple tutorials from different artists on YouTube talking about different techniques for painting snow-covered trees, and I found one video in particular that I found incredibly helpful. So I'm going to link that video down below if you are struggling to figure out how to paint snow-covered trees. This video is so well done, very helpful, highly recommend. So I'm following the advice from this video, and I'm starting by painting my trees in a really light washed out blue. And this is going to end up being the snow because the side of the trees that we can see from our vantage point are actually the side that is in shadow. The snow will have a bit of a cool toned blue tinge to it because of that shadow. Whereas if we were looking at it from the other side with the light behind us, then the snow would have more of a yellow tinge from the sunlight. I know it looks really blue right now, but when the painting's finished, these sections look white because in contrast to everything else, they are the lightest and most washed out, and it makes sense that they're in shadow. They read as white snow, so just keep that in mind. I was having trouble believing that this was going to work, and I was really happy with how it turned out, so sometimes you just have to trust the process. I'm also sort of blocking in where the other trees are going to be, again using my reference photo for inspiration. So in the reference photo, there's some sort of overlapping hills of forest in the background, far off in the distance. So I'm just creating an uneven horizon of trees, dipping in the center like there's a valley, again using my really washed out blue. Once that first layer was dry, I went in and darkened that a little bit. Because these trees are in the distance, I do want them to be a little darker and less distinct. Letting that layer dry, it was time to work on my 3 main trees again, and at this point I was using Payne's Gray to add in the branches. So basically just adding little areas of shadow underneath these blue sections, which are supposed to represent the snow that's kind of piled up on the branches. So adding a shadow underneath those blue sections makes it look like the dark branches with snow piled on top. It's pretty easy to overdo this, and I definitely felt like I overdid it on my center tree. I felt like I added too much Payne's Gray. It got too dark and there wasn't enough snow. So I ended up wetting those sections and lifting off some of that color to try to undo my mistake. I'm also adding some larger trees on the left side here. They're still going to be far less distinct, less detailed than my 3 main trees, but I did want a couple larger trees to look like they were in the foreground and to be slightly more detailed, just so that the whole left side of the painting isn't just a uniform, vague mass. I'm also blending out the bottom of the trees down into the snow in the foreground to give a shadow effect to the snow at the base of the trees. This next step was something that I almost didn't do, but I had just bought this palette of metallic watercolors and it came with a silvery white watercolor and it just seemed perfect for snow. So I used just the tiniest bit as an accent on my snowy branches, just so that when the painting catches the light, there's a little bit of that iridescent shimmer that you get with fresh snow. It's super subtle and you can only see it in certain lights, but I'm really happy with the extra dimension that this added to my painting. I added a little bit to some of the other trees on the left-hand side as well, just to add some highlighted areas, but I tried to be pretty sparse with it. I didn't want to overdo it. I also decided to use this same silvery white metallic paint to add the sunbeams that are coming through the branches of the trees as the sun is rising. So the sun is rising right there between the two trees that are furthest to the right, and I wanted there to be those sunbeams coming down through the branches towards the snow on the ground as well as up into the sky. I decided to make my sunbeams a lot lighter and more on the white end rather than the super yellow saturated sunbeams from the reference photo. I just thought this would fit my scene a little bit better and be less likely for me to mess it up. So sometimes you have to make things a little bit easier for yourself, you know? I let the painting fully dry overnight and then I glued it into my bullet journal. On the opposite page where I'm going to write the January header, I thought it'd be fun to just do a super minimalist abstract version of a sunrise. So I did a purple streak, a pink streak, and a yellow streak with an orange sun popping out from behind the yellow streak. I thought this was kind of a fun representation of it in a much more minimalist, simple way. And as I was doing this, I thought it would be cool if there was a bit of a shadow on the yellow from the rising sun, so I added that as well with my flat brush. Once the paint was fully dry, I added my header just in a simple cursive monoline font, using a fine tip acrylograph, and then I used one of my 2021 mini calendar stickers on clear sticker paper just underneath that to finish it off. By the way, thank you to everyone who supported me and shopped my limited release of stickers. We sold out within a couple days, which was absolutely shocking to me. So thank you all so much. I am working my hardest to get all the orders cut and printed and shipped out to you. I only have 2 hands, but I'm working as fast as I can, and I am so grateful for your support. Moving on to the rest of the spreads, and I am yet again cutting my pages. Yes, I got the bug. This is going to be my 3rd month in a row cutting my pages, but y'all, this works so well for my rolling weekly, especially just cutting a little bit off the side, enough to create little tabs like I did in my December plan with me. So I'm recreating that idea, just cutting a little bit off the side and creating cute little tabs so that I can easily flip from one week to the next. I love the practicality of this. It is so easy to use. I love having my little tabs to flip between weeks or flip back to my monthly. Super helpful. Highly recommend. So once I had all my pages cut, I flipped back to the first page here, which is going to be my calendar page on the left side, and on the right side is going to be a quote page. So I actually started painting something for my calendar page and ended up really not liking how it turned out. So I changed my mind and went a different direction. For the quote page, I decided to do another version of this abstract sunrise. So I started with a big sun that blends from yellow into orange, and then underneath that I did some quick, messy streaks from yellow into pink, into purple, into blue. Letting that paint fully dry, I'm moving on to my calendar spread, which I'm going to keep super simple because the colors on this spread are really bright and vibrant and honestly kind of out of my comfort zone. I didn't want to go overboard with my calendar, and that's what I didn't like about the first calendar spread that I was working on. It just felt like it was too much, too many colors, too bright. It was a little intense for me. So I decided to reel it back and just do a simple black pen monthly calendar, really clean and practical and quick to set up. Once the paint was fully dry, I flipped back to my quote page to add in the quote. And this is actually a quote I've used before in my bullet journal, but it just seemed so relevant right now that I had to use it again. And it is, "Even the darkest night will end and the sun will rise," by Victor Hugo. This is from Les Miserables, and it's just so relevant for the current moment that we're in, as well as this specific theme. So I had to reuse it. As y'all know, for December, I did a Goodnight 2020 sort of moonrise on 2020 theme. And a couple of my patrons, when I asked them what they would like to see for January, brought up the idea of doing a sunrise to kind of complete that cycle. And I really loved that. So that is what this theme is. It really is that sunrise on 2021, the start of a new day. And this quote just so perfectly encompasses everything that I'm feeling right now. Knowing that no matter how dark 2020 was for so many of us, the sun will rise as it always does, and hopefully 2021 will be a brighter year for all of us. I thought it'd be fun to paint the tabs because my weeklies are going to be super simple and straightforward, and I wanted to include the color palette throughout all of the spreads, and the tabs are kind of a fun way to do that. So the first tab is going to be blue, the second tab is purple, the third tab is pink, the fourth tab is orange, and the fifth tab is yellow. And I'm just using a little piece of washi tape to get a nice clean line and using a little bit of paper towel behind it to protect the other pages. And I'm going to paint the tabs on both sides, but I'm just starting with the one side, and then once those are fully dry, I'll paint the other side. Working on my weeklies here, I'm keeping them super simple. Again, just using a black pen, and that's it. I'm using my faux Dutch door rolling weekly as I always do. I'll link the video where I explain how the rolling weekly works in the cards and in the description box down below. For any of you who aren't familiar with this setup, it is my absolute favorite. And I'm just using the same really simple monoline cursive for all the headers. I'm going through and painting the other side of all the tabs. Now moving on to the final double page spread of this setup, which is one final quote page and some art to close us out. So I actually changed my idea for this last little art piece a couple times before landing on this idea, but I'm really happy I went with this one because I think it turned out really nice. So what I did was I sectioned off 3 even spaces, 3 rectangles down the page, and I created 3 separate little paintings as segments of the sky. So this is basically tying in that first watercolor painting that we did for the cover page, creating a similar vibe of the really streaky horizontal clouds that are going from dark blue through purple, through pink, through orange to yellow. While I was letting the backgrounds fully dry, I added in the quote, which is, "May the sunrise bring you peace and fill your soul with possibility," which I just think is so beautiful. And I feel like a lot of us are trying to feel that hope and possibility for 2021 right now. Once the backgrounds were fully dry, I popped back over to add my clouds, and I'm using the exact same technique, using a flat brush and just sweeping back and forth, trying to keep the clouds really flat and horizontal and sort of streaky, and the colors of the clouds mimic the backgrounds. So in the top painting, we have the dark blue into the lighter blue. In the middle painting, we have the purple into pink. And then in the bottom painting, we have the orange into yellow. There were a couple spots where I got carried away and ended up painting past my washi tape, so I just used a white acrylograph to touch up those spots. And that's it for this setup. We are fully done. I am pleasantly surprised by how this turned out. I was honestly not really sure. This is very out of my comfort zone when it comes to color palette. So this was definitely a challenge and a little uncomfortable, but you know, we never learn or grow if we just stay in our comfort zone forever. So I'm glad I stepped out of the box and tried this out. Thank you to my patrons for suggesting this theme and for sharing with me the reference photo that inspired this entire theme. Don't forget to use the link in my description box for a 7-day free trial of Jour, and to check the description box for the rules so you can enter to win one of 10 premium Jour subscriptions. Thank you so much to Jour for sponsoring this video. Thank you for watching this video and for participating in Plantmas with me. I can't believe we are halfway through Plantmas and only have 6 more videos to go. It has been a wild ride so far, but I am really enjoying myself. Thank you so much to my patrons for their support. If you want to join the squad, feel free. There's a link in the card and in the description box down below. And with that, I'm going to get going, and I'll see you really soon tomorrow for Plantmas Day 7. Bye, friends.